Okay, it's called Tiffany. I'm gonna give you a call, and it wants a response. When I say something, you just gonna respond. We're gonna keep it like that. It's gonna be real fluid, like dialogue and stuff. So good evening, everybody. How are you? There we go. See, that feel better than me. I don't know about anybody else, but that was for me. So thank you again, you guys. I want to appreciate everyone who was able to take the time out to come and be with us on this evening for a Seven Foundation in partnership with Something in the Jungle, formerly known as the NC Alpha Cookout Supply Drive Committee. So we want to go ahead and kick this evening off, but I want to make sure that you all have been fed. So if you look over to your left, my right, there was some food and some drink. So at any moment you feel, just help yourself, just be quiet about it. Outside of that, we all have parked, everyone's parked out here, you should be fine. So this is church announcements real quick, you should be fine for at least the next hour or so. I'm gonna make sure that we have a good time and we kind of get through the evening, but once again, thank you. I'm Shamar Farley, your host for this evening, and we're going to get everything started, okay? So, I want to get ready to introduce some of our speakers. So I'm going to go through some bios. Is that fine that we do bios, you guys? Okay, wonderful, because I was going to do it anyway, but I just want to get your impact. Your feedback, excuse me. So, our first speaker for the evening that we're going to have come up will be none other than Mr. D'Angelo Taylor. D'Angelo Taylor, yes, go ahead. You want to get some love around here. Yes. So, D'Angelo Taylor is a multifaceted entrepreneur, a mental health therapist, music producer with over a decade of experience as a licensed professional counselor. His career is defined by a commitment to providing culturally congruent mental health therapy. Now, focusing on breaking down barriers that prevent marginalized communities from accessing support. D'Angelo has earned his bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte and master's degree in counseling psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. Now, as a founder of Soundtrack Life, LLC, and co-founder of Wholesome Wellness Incorporated, D'Angelo integrates holistic techniques to help individuals manage stress, achieve goals, enhance their overall quality of life, and be great. Through Soundtrack Academy, he uses the music production process to guide individuals while building confidence, self-esteem, and resilience. Beyond his clinical practice, D'Angelo is a visionary in the music and entertainment industry, shaping cultural experiences through his brand, Super Dope Nation. He curates events that celebrate diverse talent and fosters creative expression, bridging the gap between mental health, advocacy, and artistic innovation. D'Angelo's dedication extends to advocacy as the board chair for Black male mental health, where he works to improve mental health outcomes in marginalized communities. His holistic approach, and leadership in mental health and creative industries make him a driving force for positive change, inspiring individuals to thrive personally and professionally. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Mr. D'Angelo Taylor. Good to see you, brother. I'm doing well. So, Brother D'Angelo, can y'all hear him? He needs a mic. Do I have another mic for my good brother? If not, I'll just tap it. I like the way we do it.
Testing.
Hold up. Hello?
Check.
Check. All right. We're going to make it work. I think I may need to be in a position to get this right. Can y'all hear it? Are we good? We fine? Wonderful. If it goes in and out, I'm going to just talk loud just in case. All right, we're going to do a little technical thing right here. All right, so, Mr. Taylor, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate y'all having me here today, and I can't wait to talk a little more about what I got going on.
Wonderful. So this is the T7F Working While Black conversation, all right? So I want you to go ahead and get comfortable because we're gonna dive right in. So I want to know, after reading your bio, so what was your main influence, or what was your why that motivated you to get into therapy?
So my why. Y'all hear me well? Is the mic on?
No, it's
My
like
why keep going out on me here.
It's on. Yeah.
Testing. I'ma just
Yeah.
I'm gonna just speak out loud, okay? That's okay. You know, everyone can still hear me.
use those. We ain't gonna use.
But my why, the reason I even got into mental health is the fact that I recognize the importance of representation and what that really means as far as being able to show people that what it's okay to, for one, find comfortable spaces and find people that you can talk to. And for me, I had mentors. I had people in my life to kind of show me black men that look like me, to be able to kind of coach me up and kind of tell me and help me navigate through different issues. And recognizing how we're able to relate, and I was able to talk to them. I was like, what, maybe I could be that driving force for others as well. So just from my own experience of having that help, having that support, having people who worked in the field of mental health, therapists, counselors, coaches, and seeing the impact that they made on their communities and other individuals and myself, and I said, you know what, I want to do that too. I can see myself doing that as a work ethic.
Okay. So you mentioned the importance of being a therapist, how it relates to you. So I would also follow up by asking, do you yourself have a therapist or a life coach? And if so, how important is that relationship for you on a personal development?
Yes, I do have my own therapist, have my coach, have my spiritual leaders, have my financial coach, I have a trainer, and I mean, if we're sticking it more so bringing it back to mental health, it's super important to have that type of support. It's super helpful to have that outlet, that space where you can process and talk about different challenges and things that you're going through in life. The fact is a lot of people feel like they're dealing with things alone. They feel like they have no help at all. But, when you have a trained professional, when you have a therapist or have someone that you can actually go to and talk to, it can be super helpful. Even as a therapist, something to recognize that I'm human as well. I have my own feelings, I have my own emotions and things that I typically go through. In order for me to operate at my best and, at my optimal, I gotta have my own outlets where I can process and do the work outside of therapy, outside of the work, just so I can show up and be my best self with my clients. So I think it's super, it's important to have those supports in place, like for therapists to have therapists. And I would say it's beneficial for anybody to see a therapist.
Okay, you just really set me up for these questions, man. So with that being said, I believe you, myself, and most of the people in the room are millennials. I'll ask this, how often have you run into millennials such as ourselves that still battle with the stigma of the benefits of having a therapist or going to a therapist? How does that conversation go?
I got you. Well, I can definitely say the stigma still exists, and it is up to us to have these conversations and talk about, our own maybe not going in depth, but our own personal experience, but be able to talk about how therapy and having help has assisted us in our own journey. There's still people who believe that they don't believe in talking about issues outside of home. They don't believe in talking to a therapist. We have so many historical incidents where, especially people that look like us, where we discussed issues or we presented problems to someone else and we didn't necessarily get the help. It actually harmed us more so than benefited us. So there's a stigma that still lies with going to see a therapist. So I can definitely say it's still up to us to talk about it. The importance of seeing a therapist. Also important for us to have individuals that look like ourselves as that representation or that model to say, hey, it's okay. This is a space where you can be comfortable because I can relate to you. I can understand where you're coming from. I can understand the nuances. That's why it's important to have black therapists or African American or any person of color who can understand the culture where we come from, especially as millennials. So yeah, stigma exists, but it's definitely it's something that for me I try to really address. It's okay. You don't need therapy, but you can definitely benefit from seeing a therapist.
Y'all, let's just give him a round of applause for that answer. Well, it's funny, he definitely gave me everything I needed, and I want to go ahead and put another pin in this, you guys. So tonight it's very conversational. So there's gonna be moments where we open the floor for you. Do not feel like you don't have to ask certain questions. Okay, we want this to be very fluid, and thank you again for that response, brother. Also, so you mentioned, well, you didn't mention it per se, but in your bio, it also talked about you being an entrepreneur, and specifically in the space of music. I'm a musician,
Okay.
so I want to know, how have you figured out the intersection between mental health, music, and fitness?
Okay, gotcha. No, I mean, that's an excellent question. Let me just start off by saying, because as a music producer, what music does for me, it's a therapeutic tool. It's my outlet where I'm able to have that release. I'm able to be free. I'm able to create, and I'm able to really just kind of, I guess you could say, I can decompress in that space when I'm just creating and making music. So it's a therapeutic tool that I use, and a whole lot of other things are going on, and I just need a break. So I use it within that capacity. So as it relates to mental health, if I'm making some music, I'm able to, and I'm done, I have some clarity because I was able to just kind of, whatever was on my mind, I'm able to kind of let it out and leave it there in that space. And same as working out, or same as fitness, that's also a therapeutic tool for me. Going to the gym, being able to be in that space, going for runs. I know we do mad miles, and we partake in different activities like that. But that space right there, it's freeing to be able to say, okay, got that workout done. I feel like my brain's not foggy anymore. I feel a little bit more clear. But also as it relates to physical fitness, and this is going to tie back into mental health, when you start to be consistent, especially in the gym or with anything that's, or within the fitness world, it can correlate with confidence. Like you look in the mirror, you start looking good, you see your muscles a little bit more toned, and that relates to just being confident. When you're confident in yourself, you can perform better in other areas and other spaces. So when we're talking about mental health, are we talking about physical health? It definitely correlates to mental health as it relates to how you see yourself. And vice versa. Let's kind of go back to mental health. There's some days where you know that going to the gym might be healthy for you, but you just don't feel like it. Going for that run, going for that walk will be good for you. You just don't feel like it. You feel like just laying in the bed all day, being lazy, or you just don't feel up to it. Well, that's probably because there's other things that's in the forefront, or other things that's priority that needs to be addressed. So it's tough to kind of go out there and just work out when there's some things that need to be addressed more immediately. So that's kind of where the mental health piece falls in place, where there's things that you might want to address so you can get back to being able to function in that physical space. And the same with the music. Sometimes if I have a whole lot that's going on that's occupying mental capacity that I need to address, I probably need to do that first before I'm able to really create and really get into my space where I can produce a song and just feel like I'm free in that area.
I gotta do this with you more often, man. You got some good answers. So thank you for that. And I asked that question mainly because, like I said earlier, I'm also a musician as well, and I know how with me exercising and practicing mental health techniques, understanding my triggers and understanding how to respond differently and what tools I need to use to cope better. Music for me has always been like that number one coping mechanism to get through things. So that's why I just wanted to ask. You a little bigger than me. I ain't got in the gym quite like that yet. We on the way, praise God, okay? But I wanted to also know about the fitness use, because I know a lot of us, especially those of us that also run with us at Mad Mouse, you see how we've built family and built confidence and built energy and synergy around a simple act as just running. Something as easy as doing that. But I guess you could say the benchmark was one thing from what we were before, but that consistency and dedication of continuing to go is what has grown up to be better. So I would now pose the question to you. how often do you hear success stories from your clients in the mental health space, especially from where you work, working while Black, how impactful you specifically were to them as their practitioner?
I mean, I will say that first off, it takes work in my space, on both ends, my end, and also it matters what the client does between sessions. So if a client, of course, is consistent with coming to therapy, not just coming to therapy, but able to actually do the work between the sessions, then they're going to probably see some progress. Actually, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to see the progress they're looking for. Right. If that real work is being done, they're getting very intentional about the time they spend doing that. So I do hear, quite often where clients who I've seen for some time, and typically I'll see a client about 3 months to about probably a little over that, and of course they'll still come after that because it's maintenance after that. But they start to see a significant change after about 90 days, significant difference after about 90 days, 3 months. And then, we report back, we check in periodically to see where they are as far as making progress and where they are meeting goals. And a lot of them say they're serious about making progress. They find themselves using the tools between the sessions. Relationships are getting better. They find themselves to be consistent with doing their hobbies and other things they love and enjoy. And overall, they're reporting a higher rating as far as overall life and their well-being, which is amazing and definitely fulfilling as a therapist to know that, okay, I'm making a difference in clients' lives. But, while I have the training experience and things that I do on my end, I gotta give a whole lot of credit to the clients who choose to show up every single week. Right. I gotta give credit to the clients who are actually doing that work. Because, like I said, if they're not doing that work and being consistent in those areas, then what am I really doing here? So it definitely takes a person who wants to create that change, wants to make that change, who's going to keep coming back and do those things necessary to get to where they say they want to get to. That's what really makes a difference. But I hear it quite often, but that's not to toot my own horn. That's to give the clients that I work with a lot of credit for the work that they're doing.
This stuff.
Okay, so I'm gonna toot the horn. Okay, that's good. That's what we need, right? We need to know that we have people in the community that look like us that can perform these services that we need to be better individuals, correct? So right now, I'm gonna entertain 2 questions for Mr. Taylor. Okay, anybody that have any questions for him with reference to him being in the mental health space, him being in the fitness space, and or music? Anybody? 2 questions. Okay. 1 and 2. All right. Jen, her. Oh, real quick before you start, thank you for being number 1. I would love for you to just project your voice so we can know your beautiful name. Okay. And then ask your question, all right? Wonderful.
All right, y'all, my name is Jasmine, and the question that I have for you, I also work in like a mental health space with youth, and it's essentially like, what does your bad days look like? Sometimes I beat myself up about like what my bad days look like, considering I'm like preaching all this stuff, and like sometimes I don't, the tools that I give, sometimes I'm like, okay, this isn't working for me, this isn't working for me. So what does your bad days look like, and how do you give yourself grace during those days?
It's a wonderful question. If I sit here and told you I didn't have bad days, I'd be lying to the world. I don't have, there's days I don't show my best or I don't feel my best. And I think it is up to us to recognize when we don't feel our best. I think it's those moments where you do got to give yourself grace, because like I mentioned, we are human. And you got to think about, what is it that I need right now? Why is it that I don't feel my best? And the thing is, you don't want to do a disservice to the clients or the people that you work with because you can't show up as your full self. And there's going to be days probably where you only can give maybe a little bit more than half of what you have because this is what you have to do. However, it is up to you to say, okay, I know I got to tend to my needs right now. I need rest. I need to eat. A lot of times I probably ain't got enough sleep. I need to have this tough conversation with such and such so that can no longer occupy this space in my mind, and that's something that's not interfering with the work that I do. I need to go work out. I need to go for a run. It's different things you got to be able to attend to or acknowledge within yourself, or even for myself, that I know I need to do in order for me to show up my best. So giving myself grace looks like, hey, you know what, I'm going to be honest with my clients today. I'm going to let them know that, hey, can we schedule for next week? Today's sometimes I can just be like, today's a tough day, or it's busy, or something's going on. I let them know. Sometimes I'm just honest with them. Today that I'm not feeling my best, I'm a little under the weather, whatever the case is, I let them know. I do believe in being honest and transparent, but I let them know, but I'm also honest with myself as far as what I need to do in order that I can show up and be my best for others. So I think that's really it, it's just you being honest with yourself and being honest with people that you're working with, and that's where the grace can be extended from there.
Thank you.
My name is Jay. My question for you is, being that you are a mental health therapist, right? How are you able to not take on, listening to other people's issues and problems and things like that, and balance that, being able to balance that with that of your own, and not letting what's going on in your personal life affect how you deal with your clients' issues?
Okay. That's a great question, and I hear it a lot. People ask me, how do you not take on the problems of your clients? Like, what do you do to kind of keep yourself in check? It goes back to knowing my own routines that's good for me. Waking up, making sure I'm able to get to my morning routine, prayer, meditation, make sure I have my breakfast, make sure I get a workout in that day, because I know that's something that's essential. Make sure I have that creative space where I'm making some music. If I'm doing these things on my end that I know that helps me be able to stay in a good space, good headspace, have positive energy, I keep those things consistent. So it's my routines that make a big difference on how I show up for others. But also, I've been within this field for a while. Don't get me wrong, there are some tough stories that I come across, or some things that I hear from clients that I might need a break, or I might need a pause moment. Heck, man, I just heard this tough story. I tell you what, like I said, I'm gonna be honest with myself and be honest with clients. I might need to take a day off on Friday. I didn't go to the beach and just kind of decompress. I didn't do some things to decompress, so I can be aware of how I'm showing up for the next client, or how I show up next for that client during the next session. But it's really tending to your needs, being able to address what it is that you need. Again, having your own mental health, have your own counselor, your own therapist, have your own people, supervisor, people that you can go to kind of process whatever tough case that I had. I think that's what really helps me out. Having those routines and being able to have those outlets and having those spaces and those people that I can talk to to process different things.
Is that a good response to you, brother? All right. Well, look, everybody, let's give Mr. Taylor a hand one more time.
Did you want to?
Oh, yeah. I guess really quick before I walk off stage here, I'm going to show you that I do have a journal that I created called the Soundtrack Journal. Make your life a priority. This is a tool that I highly recommend for anyone who's balancing multiple hats, who have multiple roles. It's something to help you really prioritize those important things, create goals for yourself, and track those goals over a span of 90 days. Has a journal within it, so you can actually use the journal, write down thoughts, plan your days out. But it really helps a person who tries a whole lot to stay organized. Helps you decrease any stress and anxiety and any other pressure that's coming out like this in life. So I want to recommend this on Amazon, the Soundtrack Journal, Make Your Life a Priority.
All right, you guys. So let's not forget to speak to Mr. D'Angelo Taylor in reference to mental health. If you have any needs or are looking to help somebody, get connected to a resource. That gentleman is who you can speak with. So now, and he is available. All right. So let's prepare ourselves for our next guest speaker. This young lady goes by the name of T.H.E Gallery. Natasha is a native of High Point, North Carolina, and she earned her undergraduate degree in accounting from Appalachian State University and went on to receive her master's of business administration from North Carolina A&T. Currently residing in Charlotte, she serves as assistant vice president and senior business control specialist at Bank of America. In addition to her corporate role, she is the proud owner of an all-star cheerleading gym in Concord, North Carolina, where she gets a chance to showcase her dedication to both her professional career and her passion for coaching the youth by way of cheerleading. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize and bring to the chair Miss Natasha Lovett. Ooh. Now let me go ahead and get some good questions. So, you are in the financial sector, correct? Alright, so knowing of you personally over the years, I have to know what made you say this is what we're gonna do? Professionally.
Well, I got into accounting because it was time to like sign up for classes in high school, and I wanted to do like home ed, like all my friends. I guess like where you get the baby, and you get to cook. Like I wanted to do that class, but like my mom was like, "Oh, you're not doing that. Sign me up for accounting." Was like, "You're good with numbers. You're gonna love this class." And I was like, "Sure, I did it." And I'll never forget my high school teacher, Mr. Richard. Fell in love with accounting, loved it, and it was kind of just like set in stone that this is what I wanted to do. And they said it's all about money, so it's like, why not want to know like how to make money, work with money, and especially with these big corporations. So it's been great.
So, now that you're a big boss in the field, okay, I read your title and my jaw got tight. So, that means you do a lot, you manage some pretty hefty accounts. So, with your level of certification, how was the process in getting certain levels to solidify you in your space as a CPA?
I believe it's all about like knowledge and kind of my education. I pay it back to that. And about who you know, networking, and just like putting yourself out there. I got the position that I'm in just by conversation. Talking to the manager, he had a daughter that was in cheerleading, and we started talking about cheerleading, and kind of told him what my professional background was outside of cheerleading. He was very surprised. He was like, "Wow, you work in accounting?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just how I balance my life." So it was a great journey to kind of like, tell him my introverted side is like the audit side of my life. And just building that relationship with him to kind of get me in this position. I'll never forget when I did get the offer and I saw the title and I was like, oh my, like that's huge. So it's definitely been a true blessing to kind of get to this point in my life, and it's always been about who you know, paying back to the knowledge that I have from my education and campus.
See if I can get a good one with it. Yeah. No, we're just talking. So, now, this is what I want to know, as a woman, specifically a black woman, working in your field at the level in which you have access. How is that navigating that space? And I want you to like really bring us in on what that has been.
Well, I will say it's definitely been a challenge. It is a challenge. It's something that you may not think that you're going to be a part of the statistic, especially when you're in the field. Especially someone like me, I feel like I'm very outgoing. I talk to everyone, so I never was like, I'm going to feel myself kind of against like my male colleagues. And the kind of aura that I present myself in the corporate world, I will say as a black woman, I dress up to work every single day. And if I can have pills in my bag, I have pills in my bag. Because it's always about, they look at you when you walk in and like, wow, she's of you of importance just by my appearance. Aside from that, it's just kind of anything, anytime my male colleagues speak up, I try to speak up a little bit louder. Because that puts me in positions to just show, my knowledge and show what I have. It kind of puts me ahead of the game. I feel like my team it's a team of 5, and there's 2 women on the team, and I'm one of the women. So we are very dominated. They do try to take a lot of the work, but for us women, we definitely have to speak up. And that's something that I've learned is like definitely use my voice, speak up, and my voice is heard.
Wonderful. Okay. I got another one for you. Okay. I'm gonna pull it back a little bit. All right. So, in your field as a personal accountant and working for a bank, I know there's opportunities for you to do things with your organization and then outside your organization. Somewhat in the space of a consultant type position. How do you best advise, or what is one of the most challenging opportunities you had to advise
a client on how to manage their funds? Let's put it against asset management and liability evasion, okay? If that makes any sense.
Well, I got a short answer for you. Okay, although my shortest answer is, you know, a lot of their friends, like, most of my friends ask me tax questions, and I don't do taxes, like, at all. And then when you go deeper into my title, I work in global markets, so within Bank of America, I kind of do a lot of management in the global markets, kind of in the APAC region, Asia Pacific region. That's kind of what my, you know, field is. So a lot of times when people do come with me with like their personal accounting question, it's a little bit funny sometimes. Even though, you know, I can give them, you know, the education that they need, but sometimes it's like, you know, I try not to advise them. It's better to do your own financial research so that you can make the best decisions. You know, as an auditor, you're not supposed to give your opinion out, so can't do that.
Oh, you've been trained. She ain't give me no number. Thank you. Thank you.
I was prepared for you to respond, but thank you so much for the answer that you have given. Now, shifting gears, you're also an entrepreneur, you're a gym owner, you coach young ladies. How did you find the sweet spot of balance between your professional day-to-day and your professional entrepreneur day-to-day, or however the frequency is for when you host your coaching for your girls? Like, how did you get to that point where you're like, you know what, I'll balance?
Yeah. So I have been cheering since I was 3 years old. So I've been balancing cheer in real life, kind of my whole life. It's a part of me. And then especially going to college and getting my degree in accounting, I always told myself, accounting is a very hard major to get into, especially, you know, focusing on the CPA. And so if I pay the money to go to school and I do the work to go to school, I'm going to make sure I use my education. And then I've always used cheer as an outlet, just the way that I'm able to express myself in front of the crowd. I'm smiling, I'm happy. It's really engaging with people. Like, I'm a very people person. I love to talk to people. So cheer is how I do that. I live a double life. So my double life is I'm an extrovert and I'm an introvert. And so my introverted lifestyle is accounting, audit life. I go in the office. I do speak to my colleagues, but I'm very zoned into my work. And then outside of that, in the cheer world, I really get to express myself and work with my athletes. I've always said that I'm like the chosen one. You know, my cheer gym's called Chosen Legacy Elite. And I feel like, you know, as everyone is put on this earth for a reason, to leave their footprint, and I never knew what I was going to do to leave my footprint. I was like, how am I going to leave my footprint? I still want to be a CFO of a huge corporation one day, and that's still definitely a goal. And I also want to open as many cheer gyms as I can in the U.S. So it's like, it's all about just balance. Like, I have 2 goals in life, and I just, you know, conquering the 2. So I just feel like I'm chosen for this mission. And I just thank God that, you know, I have the knowledge to keep going.
That was good. If y'all give her a hand for that one. We really thank God for that. That's good. Bless him. But, so, I like the way you had answered that. You pretty much said, well, you can't trip me up on that question, because I've been cheering since I was young. And I didn't know that, so that was good to know. So, what I know that you've done now, given the way you've answered that question, I was going to ask you, did you ever feel like there was a point where your work and entrepreneurial spaces clash for you? So if you can't briefly, you probably got a quick answer for that one too. But I just wanted to ask that real quick.
Yeah. They crash on like an everyday basis, pretty much. It's all about like a routine. You know, I go in the office now from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then I go to cheer practice from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pretty much on a day-to-day basis. I just kind of switched into this newer role. And so in my previous role, it clashed so much that the flexibility just wasn't there. And so I stressed myself out. I told myself every day, like, I hated my job, I wanted to quit my job. And then all my friends are like, give it a year. My mom's like, no, you can't quit, you can't leave your job. And I'm just like, this position is just not it. It just doesn't give me the balance. But I also thought I took the position for the wrong reasons. You know, you gotta get into jobs that you want for the right reasons, not for, financial reasons, let's just say that. And in my position now, I love it. It creates balance. I love what I do. And so now I've kind of understood that you have to, one, if I want to live this double life, I have 3 things that I have to balance. My corporate life, my cheer life, and my self-care life. And so outside of like corporate life and cheer life, I kind of just hang by myself. Or I go to restaurants, I sit at the bar by myself, I get food. I love oysters, so like that's my favorite thing to do. And it's the only thing that that's how I create my balance with everything that I have going on, because it can clash, especially with your personal life. So you gotta really, create a routine and also like have boundaries with yourself to know that, sometimes you can't say yes to everything and sometimes you have to say no to stuff.
That was good. Okay, so you're gonna open the floor right now for the Q&A. So does anyone have a question right now? 2 questions, so that's 2 people. Have a question for Ms. Lovett in regards to her field, her being an entrepreneur, her being a black woman in corporate America, anything, anyone.
I got one.
She got one too. So I got y'all 2, my 2 questions.
My question would be, how do you balance with having your corporate life and as well as the overwhelming with children? And I also work in corporate, and sometimes I assist with high school cheerleading, and that's like a different ballgame. The attitudes are crazy. So how do you deal with that, with student life and corporate chaos?
I think I've created a lot of boundaries, especially with like my parents and my athletes. So like when I'm at work, and you can't send me a text message, or you cannot call me, you can't text me. I am very strict on like texting. I don't even like texting in general. So it's very easy for me to kind of ignore someone during the day. And then I also have like office hours for cheer, which is like, it's different, but it helps my parents because once like 6 o'clock hits, then my line is open for them to give me a phone call. And it's open till 9 o'clock at night, which is pretty late. But they definitely call me all the way up until 9. But it helps me create boundaries because once 9 o'clock hits, they cannot call me for anything else. And it's definitely helped a lot. When I first started this, I crossed a lot of boundaries by just having an open line of communication. And it was very rough because, you're talking to parents at like 8 o'clock in the morning on your way to work, and it's like, why am I doing this? So I just had to tell myself, like, during the day, I am in this position for a reason, focus in, and then once you're clocking out at 4 o'clock, you can focus in on your next thing.
Next question.
Oh, I don't have one anymore.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, as a native of High Point, can you speak to, not in a just a justice space, but can you speak to just what it means to come from High Point and that kind of world?
Yeah, it's so crazy. So like being from High Point, I've always said, when I was growing up, I was like a camp counselor at Macedonia. I don't know if you know Macedonia Camp Research Center, so my godfather's the director. And so just being from that area, I've always said I want to leave my footprint. I want to do something to give back to my community because I feel like success is giving back to those who gave to you. And so giving back to High Point, giving back to my roots, it's such a small area, and it's hard to say, but a lot of people in High Point, we're kind of simple-minded, a little narrow-minded people. So like coming out of that area is really huge. And so doing something big, they look up to you, you're very influential, and I have a lot of people in my community that congratulate me, and it makes me feel good because it's like they see someone from High Point going out of that community, but also, going back in the community and still staying there and giving back. I think that's something that's really big. So I always say all the time, like, what can I do in High Point to make sure I'm involved in that area still? And it's always funny, so people are like, you don't live there, you live in Charlotte now. But like, I always try to like see how I can give back to my area because it just speaks volumes. Because it's so small. So I love being from High Point. If I could have opened up a cheer gym there first, I definitely would have did it. But Charlotte was the first home, but I'm definitely gonna try to get that in High Point one day.
Look, so you, all right, we're gonna go ahead, baby. Ask your question.
Hey, okay, so my question is, can you talk about the sacrifices that you had to make in order to climb the corporate ladder as well as get into entrepreneurship?
Yes, it's definitely. I will say, getting into the corporate world is shocking. It's a huge culture shock. So right out of college, I got into the corporate world right off the bat, no break. I did an internship my senior year, and then once I did the internship, I got the offer, and I moved to Charlotte right after, jumping into the audit field. And being in the audit world. You're on a group, you do a lot of group audits, and these groups are teams of like 30 plus. And so the only way that you can stand out is if you do the most work. That is the only way you can stand out, because I mean, you can talk the most, you can walk the most, but it's not gonna work. You have to do the most work, so that's what I did. I did the most work as possible, just to kind of see, get my face known, get my name out there, get the partner of the company to even want to talk to me. Melissa Boone, the partner of Code Resnick, my first job, she runs 5Ks like crazy. She's an amazing runner. And I didn't run, I hated running. And so I started talking to her about running. And, one day I called her, she asked me, did I want to go run? And here I am, we're running together. And then even from us running together, now it's like I'm getting different audits that I actually wanted to work on. So it kind of helped me just building that relationship with the partners, just like the things that they enjoy and they like, just helps you kind of elevate to the next level. And I will say, like in my current position, you have to be very transparent about being an entrepreneur and being in corporate life. I think a lot of people, they clash those worlds, which is why they feel like it can't work. Going into my position, I was very open with my manager about what I do outside of the office. I even asked, what's the work-life balance? How's the flexibility? These how some days may go. Does that work with you? And those conversations that I had with him was amazing. So I knew like this was the position I need to be in. This was the company I need to be with. Because even if, long term, I'm able to kind of grow within the company. But it's always about transparency. Even there's times where I know, I'm cutting it close where, I know there's going to be traffic at 6 o'clock and I got to get to Concord from Uptown. So it's all about communicating with my manager saying like, hey, this is something I have to do. But then also, I'm kind of like an overachiever sometimes, and so I work after cheer. So that's something that you also have to balance, is that being an entrepreneur, you can do your entrepreneur work, but if you're in the corporate world, you may have some overtime hours that you're pulling late night just to catch up on your work, which kind of helps me a lot.
So once again, you guys, I want you all to give us a round of applause for Ms. T.H.E. You ready to get out that series?
Siobhan, my apologies. Can I ask this question real quick? If you don't.
How you gonna apologize and then say you can't ask the question?
Yes.
That's crazy.
You gotta do things in advance, right? The apology is in advance to the question.
Okay, talk to you, dog. It's my stuff.
So, you mentioned coming from a smaller town, narrow-mindedness, but your mother guided you, or I guess voluntold you to become a CPA. Can you talk about some of the lessons that you learned, and maybe the investing side of things? And one, are you an investor? And although people may talk to you more or ask you questions about taxes, have you been able to go back home and lend some of that information to people that may say, hey, I don't have enough money, I'm not into this, what does that look like for you? And do you instill any of those lessons into your cheerleading team as well, about the power of investing from an early age?
Okay, that's actually a good question. Now I'm stumped. But I will say, when it comes to me with especially with saving, in being able to open my own gym, I got a lot of rejections when it came to even open up their own gym, because people look at amount of years in business. They want to know how many years have you been in business, and once you say you're freshly new and you're 27 years old, they're gonna say no. So I actually got 7 rejections even before I opened up the business. But the best thing before we got this building that I have, one thing that helped me was the amount that I saved. I saved a month's amount, which they were, very happy because they said, we see that you know how to save money. We can see that is, in these statements here, we know that you can pay your rent on time pretty much. So I got the yes. And I say that a lot to my friends when it does come to, they're like, how do you get to this point? It's like, well, just save your money. I take one check and I pay all my bills, and you take the other check and you save it. It's pretty much how it goes. And I know some people are on that month check, but then I think the same way. Take half of that check, pay your bills, and take the half of that check and put it in savings. And then I try, I'm very, being from High Point, I will say I'm very, very cheap. And I budget a lot. You can make as much money as you want, but I'm still gonna get the cheapest pack of salmon that I can find. I go to the grocery store. That's all I gotta say.
It's gonna cook it the same way.
It's gonna cook the same. It doesn't matter how much it costs. So I will say, it is all about saving, budgeting, and fitting to your lifestyle. I think a lot of people get messed up when it comes to investing because they're just trying to fit what is online, instead of look at your financial situation and see where you can invest the most. And I think that's where you'll benefit from.
I was ready to fire right up.
Thank you.
But that was a really good question.
Yeah,
Very
that was
good
a great question.
And also, if you're in the market to shop for another location, see me, because I have some people for you. So right now, you guys, we're going to take this time to play our video presentation from Ricky Lee. He has some words for us.
Where I got my master's in biology. So I know what it's like to have those limited resources coming from the HBCU. That's one of the reasons why I partnered with the Second Foundation, because they gave me the opportunity to. Unfortunately, I was not able to make the work model back in the training camp, but I know that it will be a phenomenal event where you guys are able to connect and build relationships with each other, and also learn about health, wealth, and education. Again, I'm excited to be partnered with the Second Foundation. I look forward to working with you guys in the future. Thank you.
Hello? Oh, there it goes. So there's, I'll talk about that. Wonderful. We are good to go. All right, you guys. You better have wonderful ideas.
Thank you so much. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you all.
So I'm going to introduce our next guest. She goes by the name of Janae Aiken. Janae Aiken is a high school English teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina, originally from San Antonio, Texas. She independently published her first book of poetry, Bloom, in 2019, and her second book of poetry, Growth, in 2021. After selling thousands of copies, Janae has curated several writing and reading workshops to promote creativity through literacy. She recently graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design with her MA in Creative Business Leadership, hoping to write her third poetry book very soon. So ladies and gentlemen, please, let's give a round of applause for Ms. Janae Aiken. Okay. Janae Aiken, one more time. Yes. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Like the energy already just popping in the chair like you've been here. This your house too. Okay, we at the crib. So, let me go ahead and get ready. Ask you a question to ask you.
Oh man.
Okay, yeah. Oh, it's coming.
I'm
All right. So, what
what was your why that led you to want to become an educator?
Oh, okay, that's good. So at a very early age, I'm the oldest, so I have a younger brother and a younger sister, and so I wanted to boss them around. And I wanted to make them follow me and do whatever I said, but growing up, I just had a passion for reading and wanting to lead others, so I've always known I wanted to be a teacher, and I stuck through that. So I was very fortunate to know what I wanted to do very early. So in college, I didn't have to explore too many majors. I knew I wanted to do education. But the biggest part is really just to be like a voice and an advocate for the youth. What I saw growing up is that a lot of times people got lost in transition and translation because they weren't heard. And so I wanted to be the teacher that, you know, kids didn't mention in their raps and their songs, like they didn't support me. I didn't want to be that teacher. I wanted to be the teacher that actually supports my students. So that's my why.
Was good, okay. All right. So you ain't been in no lyrics yet. So that's good.
Good lyrics.
Good, okay, good lyrics. Okay. We'll take that. We'll take that. All right. So my next question to you is this then. So with you being in the field and working with students, what grade age range do you work with specifically?
High school, so 9 through 12.
Okay, 9 through 12. My God. Okay. So those types of students, that group, okay, how do you, or what has been your most impactful way to reach them in communication? Like, how do you communicate with that group of students? Because now everybody is social media, they have very limited social skills in reference to talking to one another in person. You know, there's a lot of nuances now. So how do you navigate your classroom, your space, to be an effective teacher to them?
That's a really good question. I'm probably gonna have a really long answer. Oh, that's fine. Okay. So I first started teaching in 2016, and so I started teaching right after I graduated from college. And so at that point, I was a really, really young teacher, but that was prior to COVID and a lot of the big social media. So my students weren't really on their phones and technology too much, for like Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and stuff like that. It was more of just I'm listening to music. So I know for me, again, I'm a young teacher. I'm tapped into what's going on right now. And I feel that I connect the best with music and just bringing up similarities. I'm also a soccer coach too, so that helps as well to be able to bring in sports. But we talked about this earlier, just really getting to their level and just talking to them. So with that age group, for high school specifically, a lot of the times, now that I ask them, they say that a lot of their teachers don't even talk to them. As far as just, hey, how was your weekend? What are you doing? You were in a play this week, I'm gonna go. A lot of teachers don't do that and try to connect, so when I do it, it's kind of, they're like, oh wow, like she's actually interested and invested. And so one thing that I started, it was a little bit before COVID, I made a teacher Instagram to really promote and highlight my students. So shout out to Adlib with Miss Aiken, that's my teacher Instagram. And I really just share like what they're doing. I share what I'm doing in the classroom. I'm very unorthodox when it comes to teaching. So I actually have flexible seating in my classroom. So yes, this is like my home. Like I have couches and stuff in my room.
You was cozy. Been here before.
I don't teach on the couch, but my students are very, very comfortable. My ceiling tiles are painted as well, and so the kids put like what their future school that they're going to, or like anything interesting on the ceiling, so that when they move on from my class, it's kind of like their stamp, right? Their branding, and it just makes them feel like, oh wow, like I want to get to that point to where I'm able to do that. And so I just really try to find different ways to connect with them to where when they're coming into my room, it really feels like their second home. So I do have essential oils going. I have candles going, which I'm not supposed to have, but you know, I want my room to smell very, very good. I don't do the fluorescent lights, like I have lamps and stuff, so it really does feel like your second home. And I know for me, I'm at school more than I'm at my own house, so I want to make sure I'm in a space to where it's comfortable. Another thing too is just you don't want to be that teacher that tries to be hip. I know that you guys had teachers like that tried too much. So I don't try to do it. I really just am very outright about what I'm interested in. So I kind of have my quirks. I don't listen to rap music before 12. We start school at 7:15 in the morning, so I start with jazz music. And they're like, why do you do that? But that's just, who I am. And so they're like, oh wow, and they start to pick up on those things. And then I just play like different types of music too throughout the day to kind of put my students on. And then I'm just honest about what I do as well. And so I think the fact that they're able to see my personality too, it kind of helps connect with them to where they're like, okay, I can be myself in Miss Aiken's class because she's being herself as a teacher. And so I've been able to be very successful in the classroom with everyone. I'm a military brat, so I've lived in a lot of places. Charlotte is the longest place I've ever lived. It's going to be year 9 in December. Thank you. And so for me, I've lived with different types of people, cultures, and backgrounds. I've played with different types of people, cultures, and backgrounds. I've experienced every kind of type of person. So when I have students that come in that are different, it's not that hard for me to approach them because I've lived that before. So I think that's an advantage for me. I'm not closed-minded. And I know now with education, when you have those teachers that are very closed-minded and don't want to hear what you're doing, they don't want to hear that, oh, you're listening to the young boy and stuff like that. I support all that stuff, you know what I mean? And so they're like, okay, cool, like I feel like I can actually talk to her.
Okay, good. I enjoyed that.
Told you I held on answer.
It was a little long. It was, you know what I'm saying? But it's okay. You answered everything that I needed, so thank you. And you gave me such a good segue into this next question because you mentioned how, in essence, you create the atmosphere for your classroom. You said you have essential oils going on, you have jazz music going on, you have ambiance as relates to lighting. All these things help to put you in a mindset. So as being the person who runs this classroom, I have to set the atmosphere here. And now your students are able to appreciate it. Subconsciously, they didn't know what was going on, but it just kept it real chill. Like there was no issues. We get in here, we get out. But in the same vein as that, how do you incorporate your artistry as a poet and an author into how you run your classroom, or how have you figured out how to switch, if there's any distinction between the two?
So for me, I have an English education background, so that's my background, English ed. And so by trade, I'm an English teacher. And so I actually am kind of segueing out of English. I teach like a college and career class now, and then I'm going to be teaching journalism. And so for me, with English, there's so many creative things that you can do. I would never have my kids read my poetry for an assignment because I think that's weird. But when we talk about writing and reading and stuff, that's very important to me because that's a very lost skill. People, not just kids, people are not reading anymore. People don't know how to read. Their vocabulary is very low. They just prefer, video is how they get information, which is great, but reading is not a thing and writing is not a thing. ChatGPT is popular right now, so it's like, hey, I can just put this in there and have it write it for me. Yeah. And so I know with my creativity, I really try to change the curriculum to where I'm creating all the resources. So, for example, there's a unit on Shakespeare, right? I personally don't like it, and so I changed that whole unit to doing poetry with Tupac. And so that's a very popular unit in my class. And so the kids love that. I did a unit with J. Cole as well. Wale, I did NBA Youngboy. They're like, oh my God, this is great. And so I really tried to incorporate how I know they're gonna respond, and they're still getting the same skills, right? Like they're learning how to read the lyrics, they can imitate it, they can write about it. But now it's just a different subject. And so with English, I'm allowed to do that. I would say I'm very project-based too, so I like to do more hands-on, all right, we're gonna get up and create something. And that's the reason why I wanted to go to SCAD for me, was to get more a creative outlet. And so I know in my class, the kids are like, okay, this is really cool. And so I will say something that really helps me balance stuff out is even though I'm really creative, I'm cool, I'm chill, I have that environment, I do have rules. Like you have to have rules with high schoolers in that environment. And so I was just saying this earlier, for me, like I am the teacher that takes phones, like I am, because you really can't tap into your creativity if you're on your phone for 90 minutes. And so a lot of the times they're like, oh, I didn't realize I wasn't on my phone for 90 minutes. I got so much done. And even as an adult, like me as a teacher, I'm not on my phone that much in class either because I'm teaching and I'm hands-on with them. Right. There's some times where we're doing really cool stuff in class that I try to get to just recap for parents or even for the kids. But even then, I mean, they love that part because a lot of the time during, especially COVID, the virtual learning, I hated that point because I was trying to express my energy through the screen and the kids weren't tapped into the Zoom. We know that they weren't really active. So for me, I feel like being creative just helps the education process, and especially like if I pay attention to politics too, and that's something that they're trying to take away is the Department of Education, and we're not there to even think about taking that part away yet. And so you need educators that are not trying to follow the old way that things were done.
Good job. I got one more question for you, okay? And you said this word, so it was a buzzword for me to go ahead and go this direction. So, as a creative, as an artist, as an author, how do you combat writer's block? And how do you get back into your creative bag when it feels like you don't have any influence to do so?
That's a good question. So I'll give you guys some background because I know I talked a lot about teaching. But with the writing process, I've always been a writer, whether it is academic or creative. But my first book, Bloom, I published in 2019 after my grandfather passed away. So I was going through depression at that time, and I was just like, I don't know how to cope with this, and I was teaching full-time too. And so during that time, I know someone else said it, you had to be on. As a teacher, you have to be on all the time. And so that class that I spoke to, they just kind of knew I was out of it when that happened. So I started writing, and so I forgot my sketchbook, but the way that I write is when it comes straight to me. So I don't orchestrate when it's time to write. I don't plan a time to write. I let it come to me. And so I got a sketchbook and actually hand wrote all my poems for both of my books. And so I just let it kind of come to me. And then my second book I published, which is this one, Growth. I actually don't have any more copies personally of my first one, so I gotta order some more. But I published that after I was diagnosed with stage 1 colorectal cancer. And so again, I was going through like a big thing, still teaching full time. And I was like, I have to write at this point. Like I have to get through it. And so being able to do that at a space to where, okay, I've done it before, I've published before, I was able to express myself. And this is what I tell people too, you don't have to write for an audience. I think a lot of the times people get that writer's block when they're trying to cater to an audience. And that was something that I was like, this is for me. So even if I don't sell any books, I'm writing this for myself, not for anyone else. And so I've had a question about, hey, when are you gonna write the other one? Because I wanted to do 3. And so this past year, 2023 to 2024, was a lot. Like I was in grad school, I was teaching, I was coaching full time. And so I know now I'm in a space to where I'm going to start writing my 3rd poetry book, probably toward the end of this year. And I'm in a better mental space. I'm in a better mental space. It's been, 3 years since the last one, so I just have so many life experience to go through. And I'll say too, I know a lot of people said they're inclined with music. I do write to music, so when you hear my poetry, it's probably gonna sound a little melodic, but it's free verse. So if it rhymes, it rhymes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's almost like I'm having a conversation with you. And that's what I wanted it to be. It can apply to anyone. You don't have to read the books in any order. It can be applicable to any situation. But I'm really excited for my third book because, again, going to SCAD, now I'm like even better. So I know the third one is going to be like really, really good.
Well, look, I'm excited for you, so I need to know. One question. I'm going to take one question. Okay, one question from the audience for Miss AK.
Oh, you said two.
Two? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead
And
start.
then, yes.
I could listen to you speak literally all day.
Oh,
I just want
She
to
has
let
a
you
nice
know,
voice,
yeah.
doesn't she?
Your answers are just great. Your answers were amazing and very inspiring. What do you think the community at large can do to assist children? Because I know you have a love for kids, and I know in other cultures, like, people view children as like a community responsibility, and we're not the same way here in the U.S. So what do you think we can do as a community to support youth more, just at large?
So I do a couple of things outside too. So again, I'm a high school soccer coach. I work for a nonprofit organization, the 2-6 Project, based out of Fayetteville. And then I also, I kind of took over one of the clubs at my school that is very service-based to teach, okay, my high schoolers need to give back to the community, right? And so I would say what I would like to see from the community is supporting our younger, I would just say K through 12 students in what they want to do, right? So again, for me being in the high school space, I do have a lot of students that start their own businesses. I have one student that has a clothing line called Dead Romance, and he's huge. I actively support it, try to purchase everything that I can. I have students that are doing art, that make music. And so I would just like to see other people kind of tap into our youth a little bit more. I know that the youth, like, they try to support each other, but I would just love to see a space to where we can invite the younger generation to come do stuff like this, or like set up a vendor table to sell their stuff, and just know that that's a space, because I know they've reached out to me and said, oh, I've only been invited to do this, and I tell them nothing's too small for you to do. However, I would just like for us to be like, okay, you deserve to be in this space too, not, you know, I'm of my age and I'm doing this. I would love to see my students do things like that. Yeah.
Another question. Okay. I know somebody. Who else had another question? All right. So.
Everyone, I want you to go. Eugene?
Yes.
Yes.
What would you say the biggest misconception it is as an educator for like people, like for parents, or what do you say the biggest misconception is?
So I'm not on Facebook that much, but during this time, that's when I lock into Facebook so people can donate to my classroom. But one thing that I see a lot is that, and I think this is for any profession, you have people that are extremists, and so you have those TikTok educators that are making content in the classroom and doing all those things. I've heard and seen conversations about we don't do as much. Like educators in general, like we have too many days off, we don't want to be with the kids, and all of those things. And I mean, I'm coming from a space where I'm about to be in year 9 of education, and it takes a special person to get up every single day and be on every single day. So I can't even tell you how many people don't come back to this job because it's very, very hard. We see people's children more than they do for 10 months. We do. We're with them all the time. And so a misconception is that teachers don't care, or as someone said before, the boundaries. Like, we're too accessible to where it's like, oh, like I need to know right now. Can you do this for me? Or can you help me? Why aren't you doing this? Why didn't you give my child an A? Why don't we do these? And so something I would urge parents, and even like if you don't have kids and you just want to support educators, is just try to help. Like ask your children, or if you have siblings or cousins of that age, like what can I help you with education-wise or academic-wise? Because a lot of times our students are falling through the cracks because parents or guardians aren't doing as much as at home. And again, I come from a single parent home to where my mom was working until like 5 or 6 o'clock, and so a lot of the time she really didn't have that much time to help us, and so just ask those questions like, did you have work today? Do you need help? Do you need support? I think that's something that would really help educators. Another thing too is, even though words of gratitude are really nice to hear from people, I think actions of gratitude for teachers would be very helpful for us, like actual actions. So even if it's like bringing tissue, hand sanitizer, a little gift card to get something to eat. I know for me, I've spent thousands of dollars in just my room to better my students because I want to, not because I have to, but because I want to. I think the gratitude for educators needs to be a lot more than what it is now.
Great response. So, I would like, since you are here with an author and you have your book, if you wouldn't mind reading at least one piece. Thank you so much, because we need to promote Black business.
Okay, I will say, this is only the 5th time I've read my own poetry out loud to people, so you guys are very special.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm just gonna pick, because again, this is not rehearsed, so I'm just gonna pick.
It's okay. I knew I put you on this. You sat in my seat so comfortably, I thought.
Okay, I'm gonna do this one. Can I do 2?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. Alright, so this is from my second book, titled Growth. I was lighting candles at home, spilled wax on it. I don't have any more copies. I sold out of copies like person, but they're on Amazon, so if you type in my first and last name, Bloom and Growth will come up. So this first one is called Sold Out. The worst, like Janae Aiko has penned, why over when you won't put in? I'm sold out, pouring myself into situations, constantly hoping to receive reciprocation. While we're young, I shouldn't have to wait any longer. I'm sold out, set a sail a while ago. ... Yes, y'all are on point with the snaps. I was hoping y'all. And then this is actually my favorite band.
Come on, favorite. Now I want you to tell the story, okay?
Okay.
Text paint for me.
Okay.
So
I do have a sleeve, and it's predominantly flowers because I believe in growth and continuous growth. And so when you plant seeds somewhere, there's going to be growth depending on the soil that you're planted. And so that's where my books reside. So you're gonna see a lot of like flower plant references. So this one is the self-titled Growth. Is growth constant? Like I'm a part of the maze runner fighting demons, making sure they don't become me. All these trials and tribulations were for something. Is growth continuous? Never linear, an uphill battle, but I'm a soldier prepared to fight. Equipped with past lessons, intuition never steered me wrong. Yet, why do I question my growth? And then I do want to read my epilogue just so, these are very like question-based. Each section of growth forces you to ask yourself tough questions like, what is hindering my growth? What actions am I taking to heal? What do I need to break this cycle I'm in? How are you seeking growth? Manifestations are up to you. May you always bloom and seek continuous growth.
Thank you, Ms. Aiken. Let's give her some more love, you guys. Like she said, she does not have any copies right now.
On Amazon.
Amazon. But you know what? We're going to come to you anyway to get the information. Okay? Because I don't have it right now. So please find her. All right? And so we can invest in one another again, you guys. Thank you for your time. I have one more special guest speaker that's about to come up. And this gentleman is none other than Eugene Hobson. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce him real fast. So, Mr. Eugene Hobson is a native of High Point as well. He received his bachelor's degree from Blvd State University in mass communication and is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. 19, okay? He currently resides in Charlotte, where he teaches videography at ACE Academy Charter School and is a professor at South Piedmont Community College. Throughout his career, he has had the opportunity to freelance and travel across the nation, filming for various projects. And during his free time, he enjoys spending time with his beautiful wife and children, coaching flag football, and just relaxing as much as he can. His goal is to create a business where he provides student entry-level opportunities in the film industry. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Eugene Hobson. My brother. That shirt is my side. Dude, I'm gonna get that shirt off your dog. So, Mr. Hobson.
Yes, sir.
I want to know, because I'm going to ask you what I've asked everyone else. For you and the career that you're in now, what was your why? I want to know what made you decide, hey, this is something I need to do. All right, that's from the education space and from films. What is it?
Well, first, I will say that I didn't always want to do film. I went to college thinking I was going to do radio broadcasting. I thought I was going to be an announcer. I was going to, thought I was going to do that same things. And I took my first videography class, and my professor really poured into me and changed my life. I rapped when I was in high school. It was a joke. I was a rapper in high school, and I made music. I did everything myself, all self-taught, all YouTube. And when I got to college and I took my first videography class and I seen the wave files and I seen all of those things, I was like, this is just like making music. And I fell in love. And then my professor doubled down and was like, you really have a gift with this. And she provided me my first hard drive. She just showed me that there's more to this. Shout out to Professor Barry. Yes, she provided that there's more opportunity outside of just holding a camera. Like I believe, millennials, we were in that era where having a camera and we were just doing it for our friends, and we was posting pictures on MySpace just to say that I own that picture or whatever the case. And I did not understand that that was a vein or a lane that I could actually take and create a career for me. As far as teaching goes, man, I truly just have a love for kids. And people say I have a love for kids, but don't really have a love for kids. And then, I was working at a job that probably shouldn't have been working at in the first place. I get fired. And one of my friends was like, so what do you really want to do? Like, I'm just in this place. I'm like, I don't know, man, I really want to teach. Like, I just completely left it. I was like, bro, I want to teach, but I want to teach something that I really care about. And videography is that thing. And I was like, killing two birds with one stone. I can teach something. I'm still learning. I'm still growing in this space. And then I'm also pouring into to a space where somebody gave me that gift. Like, they planted that seed with me, so I'm taking that opportunity to go back out and plant my seed.
What else? You done answered like 3 of my questions in one response. Crazy. Gonna make me work, huh? What? Let me think of something. So, you said a lot of things that were really good. I want to pull out. So, with you being a educator and then also working in the media space, and then your aspiration of being able to create a space to teach students on your own. How impactful, or how important is it for students and yourself to even have an outlet that allows creativity and motivation? How would you respond to that? How is the importance of that impactful to you?
I would say something that all of the speakers that came up before me today said that's what all they talked about. You have mental health as my outlet, right? Finances and saying, hey, sharing is my outlet when I'm able to cut my hours off and do so on and so forth. So videography for me is just my space in that mental health or whatever that lane is. That's what it is for me. And everybody deserves to have some space to escape from the pressures of the world. And so I just wanted to be able to take what was given. Again, videography wasn't something that I came up with on my own. That was something that was given to me. So I just wanted to be able to, I want to be able to do the same thing for somebody else. I graduated college and didn't pick up a camera. And so if I can create something to where somebody that falls in love with it or somebody that knows they want to work with cameras and they say, once I graduate, I now have a track. I now have a roadmap that I can follow and go, hey, this is A to B to C. And if I can create that yellow brick road for the next generation, then that's just what I want to do.
That was good. That was good. So with that being said, how do you find your work-life balance? So, brand new family, little ones, entrepreneur, teacher, educator, film, media, how do you find that sweet spot that's like, okay, both, I can kind of lock in, I can get back to myself. How does that look?
I like to say that there's no such thing as work-life balance. I think the true answer is just finding balance in everything that you do. I need to show up for myself at work. I'm not showing up for my boss. I'm not showing up for my manager. I'm showing up for me. And I'm showing up for the purpose in which I said that I'm going to do it for, i.e. kids. Like, if I can't show up for them, if I can't show up for myself, why would I expect anybody to be upset or not be upset at my performance? So, sorry, I guess I'm not speaking loud enough. So, but yeah, I need to show up for myself in every space that I do. I just started this thing. Shout out to my wife over there and my baby boy, 6-month-old. So I do this thing where I edit for 2 hours on and I'll take an hour off, or I might do vice versa. So it's being able to curate that balance within every space that you're in. So I don't think work is work. You're not going to be able to subtract work and what that all entails and the duties and responsibilities that come from that. Being a husband, being a father, those things are just, that's it. Right. You know, I'm not going to be like, all right, I can't be a father today because I got to take care of myself. No, I got to be able to take care of myself while being a father. I have to be able to take care of myself while being a husband, while doing all of these things that I do. And so that's the biggest goal. And I mean, I'm going to give my wife a plug and shout out. She does a great job of supporting me, saying, baby, go lay down. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Are you yelling at the kids? Go ahead. Don't get your nappy. Yeah, so she does a great job of checking me, if you will. She does a great job of just letting me know that, hey, you did it, you done enough. Thank you.
Look, we love that, okay? I'm gonna just go ahead and put a little extra on there. Baby, we thank God, okay? I say that one grow up. He different. Bless you. So, with that being said, though, so you have a different element as it relates to the other guests, because you are married right now. You guys, fresh family. You know, how has marriage and family inspired you to continue to do the work that you're doing, and or give you a little extra push to try to even figure out how to create something new for your home?
Man, I'm gonna try not to stay long-winded. I'm trying not to be long-winded with this response, but
you got the mic, dog. Go ahead.
If I didn't know that I wanted to be married, if I didn't know that I was going to propose, I honestly would not be teaching. Or maybe I would not be teaching as soon. I say that. I probably wouldn't be teaching as soon. I was making great money, you know, and I still do, but I'm making great money just freelancing. Pandemic, I didn't need a job, I wasn't worried, stimulus, whatever. I'm gonna go out there and pick the camera up and I'm gonna shoot. So I had no issues with my finances. Yeah. I'm like, okay, things are getting serious. I know I want to propose. I know I was like, I might need some benefits. I might need to have some other things in place, a foundation laid out. So, man, again, if it wasn't for her, man, I probably wouldn't be doing it in the capacity in which that I do. So that is that part of it. But one day at a time. I'm be 1% better than I was yesterday. I'm not gonna be perfect tomorrow. My mom, she was divorced 3 times. Right? So I don't know what it means to be the husband. I don't know what it means to be the father, but each and every day, my goal is to be 1% better than I was yesterday. And that's the only thing. I give myself grace, my wife gives me grace, my kids give me grace. Hopefully they don't hate me when they get older, but that's just really what it is. Just try to, 1% better. Don't force myself to be perfect. Don't force myself to be 0 to 60. Just like, hey, what are the small ones? Yeah. What are the small? What are the steps? If we're building a house, I'm gonna start here and then work my way up. Yeah.
Well, you good. That was good. I like that one. Okay. Go ahead. You hear what he said? Yeah, he talking over here. So, you mentioned your children, and I'm gonna bring it back to your instructional part of your occupation. As it relates to you being a change agent, and how you teach your students. For you, what has been some of your most gratifying moments in working with your students and teaching them how to work in videography, create, and move a media?
I'm gonna be very transparent right here. I'm getting ready to go into my fourth year teaching. I have yet to receive a Teacher of the Month yet in 4 years, and it used to take a real big toll on me. He's like, oh, man, I'm coming in to work every day and going hard. The kids love me. I got handshakes with 800 of them, and we're doing, so I'm thinking that I'm doing everything right. So I'm like, why doesn't the school recognize me? Why can't the staff see me and what I do? But then when I sat back and I thought about it, when I give that kid that handshake, that's my award. When kids, I have on my desk, I have every time a kid draws me or they draw anything related to my class or whatever, I take it, put it on my desk. So my whole desk is like a whole canvas full of just pictures and paintings and artwork that the kids do. A kid telling me, hey, I'm going to get a camera this weekend in this house and I can't wait to or whatever. Hey, I got to create a YouTube channel. So it's when the kids get to start having those conversations and you start to, and they transcend past videography. It's like, hey, I want to do this in my life. I want to start my own business. What's having those types of conversations, man, it changes the way that I thought that I was showing up in the school. And I'm thinking that I'm showing up for the recognition of the staff and the people, my coworkers. But when I show up and the kids are loving on me, or if I miss a day, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, man, my son was born, right? So I was out for a little while. And I was like, did you quit? What's going on? I was like, I'm sorry, I had to jack you up, man. God forbid I have a doctor's appointment. They're ready to blow the school up looking for me. But man, I love the kids. I feel like this is the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done in my life, and it's the most purposeful thing that I've ever done in my life.
That was weird.
My brother out here developing leaders, and we're gonna leave it right there. Good stuff. So, questions, you guys. Questions, 2 questions. Anyone in the audience, 2 questions for Mr. Hopkins as it relates to him in videography, working with students, and being a family man. Anybody? Right.
You mentioned earlier showing up to work for you, right, and not for a boss. How do you advocate for yourself when schools are not necessarily there to educate as a business, right? And we see more schools being ran as such with so much focus on just doing things for the sake of doing it with the intention or with the hope that we're going to get better test results, right? So what does that look like in your world, especially since you are on the videography side? Like, what do you see in your own role versus some of the things that are considered quote unquote like core subjects, i.e. math, ELA, those type things?
Yes, I will say I think I have an advantage over what we consider core teachers because I don't have to teach. I create my own curriculum, so I don't. We're not picking up a camera today. Today we're going to talk about what it means to be 12, 13-year-old in today's climate. So we're going to put that down and we're going to have a conversation. We do gender wars. I might put the camera up on a tripod and say we're recording something, but let's have this conversation. Let's really deep dive. And one of the biggest things I try to push all my kids to understand is your voice is the most powerful tool that you have. You can't blame nobody else for your education but yourself. If you don't do the things that you're supposed to, hey, I need help. Don't be afraid. Don't be, I don't want to be the one that's holding the class back. I don't want nobody to look at me weird. And that's your fault. I'm big on black and white. I'm big on black and white. Either you're going to get it done or you're going to complain about it, but you can't have both. So those are that's pretty much big for me. And like I said, really just getting them to tap into what the world is going to look like once they graduate. I go up to 8th grade, so I'm already like, hey, so if you don't understand work ethic, though you may want to start your own business, how's that going to work? Or just understanding that, hey, you might want to pay attention in math class because your finances is going to be what's right. People, I may not ever use y equals mx but b plus squared. That's fine. I don't think you will, but if you don't know what the checking and the savings is looking like and how to balance those two out, then that's where the issue lies. So preaching comprehension over just, the studies. That's my biggest thing. Comprehend, learn something.
That was good. Come on, Alex. Yes.
I have one. All right, so I believe in and brain breaks. So outside of videography and picking up the camera, what do you do to like unwind, relax? What is a brain break for you?
The whole class. Man, so like you said, I'm big on music. So the difference between me being in a charter school, I don't have my own classroom. So I have to push into the classroom. So I have to kind of like curate the space all over again every single day. So the first thing I do is I play music. And what I do, depending on the class and the grade that I'm dealing with, I say, hey, you pick a song today. I don't know what song it is. You're picking one today. Well, I don't want to pick. You're picking a song today, and I'm that type of teacher where it's like, hey, you're going to do this. And then that's when it's like, I want you to be confident in whatever song. Don't worry about what the kids are going to think about your music selection. You pick a song, and we're going to vibe out for the first 3 minutes. We're vibing out. Then it might be a journal prompt where it's like, hey, how can you get to the goal that you want to get to? Write that down. Then we discuss it. Then we're halfway through the class before we even tap into what videography is. And then two, use the videography then. All right, we're going to do TikTok reels today. Because I understand because I can't always force the kids to look at videography the way that I see it. Correct. So I want to talk about exposure, and I want to talk about the triangle, and I want to talk about those things. But hey, TikTok reels, okay. What we doing? You know what I'm saying? So I try to have fun with them. We do skits. We turn it into a Wild 'N Out episode sometimes. So it's just depending on sometimes whatever the kids are really into, that's what we're going to dive into. I really want them to understand that they have ownership in their education. So it's like, hey, I can give you everything that I think is going to be beneficial to you, but that may not be beneficial to you. So you tell me, and I think the bigger thing is that we always talk about expectations, right? The biggest thing, first 2 weeks of school, we're going expectations, but at the end of the semester, at the end of the year, I always say, hey, did I meet your expectations of me? Because you should have, as a student, should have expectations of your teachers just as much as I should have expectations of my students. And if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do that you see, I've done you a disservice. I've wasted your time. And that's the last thing that I want to do.
So yes, everybody, once again, Eugene Hobson's my brother. Hold on, I got another question?
Yeah.
Cool, okay, I'll just stretch it. I was about to start.
As an educator, how do you stay up to date on like new trends that's out there, like TikTok reels that you were saying, or did I get that confused? I don't know. Instagram reels and like TikTok and YouTube. How do you stay up to date on all those new trends?
Well, one, I am a YouTube connoisseur. That's pretty much all I watch. I have every subscription you can ask for, but I still would only watch YouTube every day. But no, man, the kids, I think it's because I teach middle school. They don't let me not know what's going on. I will be honest. When Riz first came out, I had no idea what that was, and I was like, "What are we talking about, guys, fellas? All right, fellas, okay. Over here, me, just us, just you and me. What we talking?" And so then that's how I was able to learn. But that's pretty much how I do it. I pour into me, and I'm gonna pour back into you. So that's what you didn't know what Riz was. All
you
right.
just learned that.
Yeah.
I just learned last week, so we ain't
asked me, this is how you got that Riz. I was like, I don't know. I got Ritz crackers if I'm looking for a snack, but that's what I didn't know. But yeah, and that's what it is. I can tell jokes. I crack jokes on the kids. You know, you think you the class clown, you lost.
Y'all have to.
You lost. Yeah. So yeah.
This will be my final question here. Have you always worked at the charter school that you worked at? That's the first part.
Yeah. Well, so I teach at community college as well, but yes, I have not been at CMS. No.
Okay. All right. The only reason why I asked that because your school has a very specific focus, right? They talk about business, they talk about entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And I know in many schools, those things are not per se taught, right? Yeah. And then having that centralized focus, to me, can start to give, especially younger minds, greater insight, greater exposure to things, and not just trivialize it, right? Everybody is not going to be an entrepreneur, and respectfully, everyone is not meant to be an entrepreneur. It's different from owning a business and actually being a business owner, and then being an entrepreneur, right? So, what lessons are you hearing some of them being taught, and then how is that translating throughout the classroom? As well as, right, when that kid says, I'm picking up this camera, is it just due to a passion, or are they thinking larger based on the lessons that are being taught in the school?
It's definitely larger based on the listeners. Entrepreneurship is pushed in almost every aspect of our school, and we have young moguls where a lot of the kids have their own businesses. They're selling their products throughout the school week. We have entrepreneurship week where we bring other entrepreneurs in, and they just have a week full of just content and just being able to express, hey, this is what it means. I think the biggest thing though that I try to do is try to narrow that down. Right? It's easy to go, well, when I graduate college, I'm gonna just start a business. I mean, when I graduate high school, I'm gonna just start a business. That sounds great. That's a great idea, but you got to understand, like you said, everybody's not meant to be a boss. Somebody got to do the work. Right. Somebody has to be employed. Everybody can't own somebody. The economy will not function that way. But those are the things that I try to narrow down and say, hey, you can do that. Or even, let's talk about the videography space. Like, you may not want to be a pick up a camera, but you can be the makeup artist for the movie set. Right. You can be the set designer. You can be the one that's controlling the lights. So don't look at my class and go, I don't care about videography. They ain't gonna care about my people. Wait, you know, and that's just anything, right? Even at the community college level, I say, whatever job you have, if you didn't learn anything from that job before you left, you done yourself a disservice. Right. So comprehending, learning, gaining that knowledge to help your push you forward for your future. So those are my biggest things that I'm trying to push. But even though entrepreneurship is being pushed throughout the school, I try to like say, all right. Because again, even at the charter school space, it's a cash grab sometimes, right? You know, it's like, okay, we push entrepreneurship, that's different. Now we got a new way to get a grant for X, Y, and Z. So I get it. So I try to make sure that the students understand that it's not just about that. It's not just about that. If you have the business, how many businesses do you lose? Or what is it? In the first 5 years, the business is already gone out of business. So let's retain it. Let's retain that money. Let's retain that business and know how you can scale. So those are the biggest things that I try to teach.
So that was a word from Bishop Eugene Hobson. You guys, once again, I want us to give Mr. Eugene Hobson a round of applause. We're going to do this while he is still, though, you can stand up. While he's still, I want to call up the rest of our guest speakers from tonight, so just come up to the front. First guy, I'm going to call you.
Come on down. Y'all right on out of school. Yeah.
So, we're going to have, on behalf of the Seventh Foundation in partnership with something and the Jungle, sponsored by Credit Karma, give you guys a token of our appreciation for being here. There's some goodies on the inside. We want to say thank you. You didn't have to, but we presented an opportunity and you answered the call. So thank you again for your service to us, service to this room, service to the community in the way that you guys impact everyone that is surrounded and connected to you in each of your lives. Thank you. So one more time, you guys. So at this moment, I'm going to call up. No, they don't want me to do it. Brian, you want to come up, have some words?
Oh, no, sir. Like, y'all know.
Now, I gave you opportunities. No, man. There you go. I'm messing with you, brother. No, you sure you good? You don't want to say anything? Closing remarks right now?
I'm going to say something after he does something.
Got you, no worries. All right.